fuck this, I'm not putting any effort into this video. Yes, I am aware that these are different pants. Fucking sue me. What? You really thought I was gonna do this with an active footpath right in front of me? Fuck that, man. Okay, so for the uninitiated, this is gonna be a Q&A. I was gonna do a different video this month, but I ran out of time and motivation and passion and energy and a lot of things, so you're just getting a Q&A. It's mostly going to be about Ratchet Clank because that's all you fuckers care about, but there will be some more like other gaming opinions and personal like stuff at the end. Okay, so first off, we have a couple of questions that are the same because obviously. We have what is your favourite Ratchet Clank, and also first, favourite game in the OG quadrilogy. I know that you get Gladiator is way underrated, but I still don't think I can rate it over Going Commando / Locked and Loaded. And you are correct, I cannot rate Gladiator over Going Commando. No, it's like Gladiator is really fun and it's really tight, but it's like Going Commando is my favourite game of the OG quadrilogy. It's also my favourite game of all of the Ratchet & Clank series, and it's also my favourite game of all time. So yeah, the answer is Going Commando. Like, I don't think it's the best game ever, but it is certainly my favourite of all time. You know, nostalgia, it's a powerful thing. Okay, second, favourite Rhino / power weapon, Harbinger, Zodiac, etc. Okay, so first off, Zodiac, garbage. I'll get it out of here. Harbinger, it's pretty cool, but in like Gladiator, I kind of prefer to use the normal weapons over the power weapons. My first instinct of what's my favourite is gonna be the Rhino 2, probably. I don't really want to say that because I feel like I'm just saying it because Going Commando is my favourite, but like genuinely I think it is like my favourite. It's kind of more precise, like, you know, the 100 round kind of single missile thing is a lot more fun, and also, you know, the way it like fucking vibrates the controller when you're firing it is really fun. Yeah, because like the original Rhino in that game is like, it's actually like way overpowered. Like, it's probably the most gap there's been between like the balance of the weapons in the game and the Rhino, because it's just like insane in that game. But I like outside of it, and like the Rhino 3 or the Rhino is just the original Rhino, but it's like slightly different, and until it's just a less shit Zodiac, and it's just not quite as fun to use. Like a screen nuke is like cool, but it's not quite as fun. And then everything past that, the Rhino 4 is just boring, and like the 5 and 7 and 8, not the 8, the 5 and the 7 are literally the same, and it's just the 6, the power armor. I haven't actually played All for One, but it looks pretty cool. And then the Rhino 8 is just the Harbinger, but dimensional. So yeah, I'd probably have to say the Rhino 2. So third, what is your ideal weapon / the weapon you would have made for the original contests back in the day? And for the uninitiated, back when A Crack in Time was coming out, there was a contest where you could submit your own designs for weapons, and they would pick one and put it in the game. And that's where the Spiral of Death and the Spiral of Carnage came from. Or I think the Spiral of Carnage is the upgraded version. Yeah, that was a fan submitted design, and like honestly, I don't think I have any better ideas than the Spiral of Death. The Spiral of Death is great. It might be my favourite weapon in that game. So I guess my ideal weapon to submit for the contest would probably just be that. Like, they should bring it back, honestly. Like, get rid of the fucking Warmonger, get rid of the Buzzblades, bring back the Spiral of Death, man. Okay, next we have, I asked this with every Ratchet & Clank fan, what are some of your favourite weapons in the series? Mine are the Tesla Claw, the Lancer, the Bouncer, the Plasma Coil, the Rhino 2, Discblade Gun, and Shield Charger. That's a pretty good list. I'd say mine probably overlaps with that, like a little bit. I'd get rid of stuff like the Lancer, the Tesla Claw. Actually, no, the Tesla Claw is pretty cool in Ratchet 1. It's actually kind of busted in Ratchet 1. I'd get rid of like the Discblade Gun. I'm not the biggest fan of the Discblade Gun. But like, my favourite weapon is the Plasma Coil, and then like, obviously you can put the Bouncer in there. Some other good weapons, like a lot of stuff in Going Commando, I like the Blitz gun is like one of my favorite shotguns. It's like the Shock Blaster is, I think it's like technically better, but the Blitz gun just feels like nicer to use. Maybe it's just like the sound design and the effects, and I don't know, maybe it vibrates the controller more, I don't fucking know. You know, you gotta, feels good. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Other weapons, like stuff from, if we want to go like into the future series, actually before we go into the future series, everything from Gladiator. Dual Vipers are amazing. The Hunter Mine launcher is really cool. The fucking Scorpion Flail. What other weapons are in that game? Basically everything in Gladiator is like the best version of that like class of weapon that there has, like pistol, like I want to say machine gun kind of thing. Dual Vipers, best. You know, sniper rifle, I think it's called the Flux rifle, I can't remember, it's the best. Like the mini turret launcher, like best. The shield thing, like best. Although they haven't really done one again, but the Holo Shield launcher is a lot better than the Holo Shield glove. And as for like future weapons, like I don't know, like I said, like the Spiral of Death is like pretty cool, and I really like using the constructive shotgun in A Crack in Time, but that's because a lot of the weapons in that are kind of, I don't know, like the Judicator, the Negotiator is fine, and I know that's also in Tools of Destruction, but it shares a lot of weapons. The Buzzblades, I mean they're good, but I don't really like using them. You just kind of hold down the trigger and shit happens, and that's kind of really boring. But other than that, yeah, there's some weapons. Okay, we have a couple of questions on the reboot / movie, because yeah, it sucks. So what is your opinion on the Ratchet & Clank reboot and the whole story shift of Ratchet being the chosen one, etc.? And what are your thoughts on the Ratchet & Clank movie? So this is kind of the game and the movie. I'm going to just combine the two because they're pretty similar. So on like the chosen one thing, I don't really think it is a chosen one story. More what they've done is, if you like look at Ratchet in the original game, he's kind of a dickhead for most of the game. He kind of doesn't want anything to do with like saving the world or whatever the fuck is happening. He's just like, I want to go get gadgets and have some fun and like do cool shit. Until like near the end of the game where he kind of like, maybe I should like care. And in the movie, and in the reboot, he cares right from the start. He's like, I want to join the Galactic Rangers and save people and whatnot. And it's not like, on paper, it's not a terrible change. It's not good, but it's not like terrible. But in execution, it just doesn't work because he has no arc. And let alone the fact that Clank like isn't a character in that, in either piece of media. But like Ratchet just doesn't have an arc. If you like look at the story of those games, it's not Ratchet's story, it's Quark's story, because apparently they think he's more interesting. Like the series has this whole thing of like thinking Quark is way funnier than he is. But yeah, like I don't know. There's this great scene. I don't know if it's in the game. It's certainly in the movie where there's a cutscene in Gladiator that, like, when you compare the two, it really shows just how much they didn't understand, not just like characters, but like themes and just what these games were about, what they were trying to say, I guess. And like it's this here.
We'll sell Ratchet action figures, Ratchet sports shoes, Ratchet deodorant, Ratchet breakfast cereal, earmuffs and cologne. No deal, Vox.
Hey, you think they'll name a street after me? Or a cologne? What?
Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's just, it's a complete, like, fucking 180 from this kind of, like, the satire of basically, I think, B-Mask put it pretty well when he said,
this series was suffering because while it had started out as a satire on consumerism, it had become a franchise seeking the same status as its satire.
Like, it's kind of weird, and I don't think at that point the movie had even come out yet, so fucking hit that one on the head pretty well. So yeah, not a fan, not a fan, and like, because it could have worked. Like, you could have taken the story of Ratchet like wanting to like save people and wanting to be a part of the Galactic Rangers and kind of like disillusion like his ideals with that at the end, and be like, actually they kind of suck. Like you could do like the whole like Ratchet 3 Galactic Rangers where they can't do shit and they suck really bad and he has to like lead them. Like, you could do that, but they didn't, so he just doesn't have anything to do in that story. It's not good. Okay, so we have, how do you feel about Mikey Kelly being replaced as Ratchet's voice actor, despite him growing to be a hero by the end of the first game? And, like, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, on one hand, like, I like James Arnold Taylor as the voice of Ratchet more than I do Mikey Kelly. I think he has just, I don't know, his tone of voice, I feel, just suits it better. I mean, he is like Obi-Wan Kenobi, for fuck's sakes.
That's one way to look at it, I suppose.
But I can't tell how much of that is like just because he's been in every game since, and also just like personal bias, because the reason that they switched from Mikey Kelly to James Arnold Taylor, if you go and watch the developer commentaries that Mike Stout and Tony Garcia did, I think it's around when they're at Mactar Resort, where they talk about the reason they replaced the voice actors is because they wanted to change Ratchet's characterization, so he's a little bit more of like he's a bit nicer, I guess. He's still like, he was still like kind of hot-headed in that game, and they've kind of lost that over time, but they were trying to make him like be nicer, I guess. To Clank specifically, because he was kind of a dickhead to Clank in the first game, which makes sense. Like, they were kind of like, it's the kind of thing where they take feedback. Like, Insomniac did have a whole thing of where they take user feedback way too strongly, but the whole like Ratchet being nicer is like, he was better at the end of the first game, as you said, and like the way that a voice actor sounds is, a lot of it is how you direct them as well. Like, if they wanted Mikey Kelly to do a nicer voice, they could have directed him to do that, but they just replaced him instead, which is what kind of doesn't make me feel great. Like, they just kind of kicked them out because they're like, oh, they didn't like this character, we'll replace the voice actor, even though like you could just try and get a different like tone of voice from the same voice actor. But I do also like James Arnold Taylor better, so it doesn't, I don't know. Okay, so we have this which just says favourite soundtrack, and I assume that that's favourite Ratchet and Clank soundtrack, but just to be safe, I will say that my favourite game soundtrack is Volume Alpha. Nothing will ever beat Volume Alpha. Volume Alpha is the best soundtrack, it's the best album, it's the best thing of all time. Volume Alpha, nothing makes me feel things more than Volume Alpha does. But in Ratchet and Clank terms, I'm not I couldn't tell you. Like, each kind of game has its own separate vibe. Like, you got Ratchet 1, which is very like grunge hip hop. It's got like the samples, the hip hop samples that David kind of Berger uses. They kind of like brought to the front. And in Ratchets 2 and 3, like, they've kind of been, they're still there, and it still kind of has that vibe, but you've got a lot of more orchestral stuff. There's a lot of like drums and brass in there as well. And so like, I think compositionally there's a lot of like, the stuff in Ratchets 2 and 3 it's like better than Ratchet 1, but it's not quite as unique. It still is unique, don't get me wrong, like, it's still really cool, and when I say that the like hip-hop sampling is kind of less noticeable, it's still there, and you still can notice it, and there's a lot of songs where it is brought to the front. But yeah, and Gladiator is like, it's not the kind of stuff that I listen to. Like, I'm not much of like a kind of more metal, kind of heavy hitting kind of thing, but for that game, it fits so fucking well. It is incredible how well that music meshes with that gameplay, and like the tone and the vibe and just everything. It's so great. And like, as for like future stuff where kind of like music composers kind of get switched around, there's some interesting stuff in Tools of Destruction. There's some callbacks that happen in Tools of Destruction that doesn't really happen in the previous games. Like, not to spoil any videos or ideas that I have, but David Berger was not great at kind of doing leitmotifs and having themes and stuff, and so everything's just kind of, he just kind of has one song for every planet, and there's nothing quite flows. So there's some interesting stuff in Tools of Destruction, but overall it's fine. And like, Quest for Booty is its theme is like fucking way better than it has any right to be. But other than that, again, and like Crack in Time does have some interesting stuff in it. Crack in Time and also Into the Nexus. I haven't really listened to Into the Nexus's like soundtrack a lot, but Crack in Time, when Boris, I have it here, I can find out what his name is. Boris Salchow, probably wrong. But he's a lot better at like making themes and tying things together. Like Alistair Azimuth has his own theme that kind of goes throughout the game, like when you're getting chased, and then when he's doing mental stuff, and then when you're fighting him at the end, and that's really cool. But a lot of the other stuff is kind of more ambient, and like I like ambient music, but for Ratchet and Clank it doesn't really work. But then again, there is also there is like A Peaceful Village, which is one of the best songs that has ever been in the series. Like, there's a reason that every video that has to do, even remotely related to a Crack in Time, and even videos that have nothing to do with a Crack in Time, use that song. You know what that song sounds like, and there's a reason for it because it's fucking great. Yeah, I don't know, I guess, so to actually answer the question and not go on a fucking tangent, I'd probably say my favourites, probably a mix between like 2 and 3, Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal. Going Commando I think is more consistently like good, but Up Your Arsenal has some fucking bangers on it, so... And it also like recycles a lot of music, so yeah. So okay, so last Ratchet and Clank question. You ever watched any of the Golden Bolts retrospectives on the Ratchet and Clank series where he takes a deep dive into a lot of the behind the scenes info on games? What the fuck? Including stuff that's never been revealed before. And I have actually, and they're really good. If you haven't watched them, you should go and watch them. I'll put a link in the description. It's actually really funny. I'm like, oh, go watch this guy's videos. Like, you know, like I'm gonna do anything for his, you know, viewership. I'm not giving him a new audience. It's, it's almost certainly that you've seen this, and like his viewers hasn't seen my videos. It's not the other way around. But, you know, to actually like. He does do some really interesting, I want to say investigative journalism. That might be putting it a bit too strongly. You'd have to ask him on like what he feels on, like what he feels he does. But like he does interviews. He finds information and stuff, and he like it's really interesting. Like go and watch them. They are like hours long, but like it's some like really interesting content. I think his Into the Nexus one released maybe like a week ago, so you know it's a good time. Yeah. So I have seen them and they are good, and you should watch them if you haven't, but you probably have. Okay, so on to the not Ratchet and Clank questions, the other gaming opinions. So you can leave now if you don't care, but please don't. Please don't. No, actually I don't give a shit. Fuck off. So, after watching your Metroid Dread video, I'm really curious on what your thoughts are and opinions on Metroid Fusion are. I know it's a very polarizing entry in the series. Yeah. But it's personally my favorite in terms of tone and setting, more so than Super Metroid. So interesting. Of course, that comes with the territory that I'm not nostalgic for Super and only played the 2D game some 6 years ago. I'm about the same. I guess it was actually 6 years ago. I was going to say it was only like 4 years ago, but it has been 6 years since I first started playing Metroid. I actually started with AM2R and then went on to Super and then Fusion. And so I'm not super nostalgic, but I do really like Fusion. Like, I like games that like do stuff that are like bold and like they have vision and it's like clear what they're trying to do. Like Fusion it's not Super Metroid, and nothing will ever be Super Metroid, and Super Metroid like is better than every Metroid game that has ever been made. Of course, it's fucking Super Metroid. But Fusion, like, it does like interesting things with its tone and setting and its gameplay and how it uses its more active, like, it's more like action-oriented gameplay to like build its tone, and like it's not quite as good as Super Metroid, but like that's not really it's not like bad. It's like good, and I think it's like really good, and like I find it interesting, and like I respect that. That's why I'm not the biggest fan of Metroid Dread, because it doesn't have that kind of, it doesn't have that vision, and it's just kind of assembled out of like just, it feels kind of just not thrown together. Like there's clearly like it's not put together like haphazardly, but there isn't quite that focus that makes like all the Metroid games work. You can see like in Metroid 2 it does the same thing where like it's more linear, but it uses that linearity to like build on its tone, and you have Super Metroid where it's just incredible and like it's just focused on like having this exploration that like really like drags you in, and then there's Fusion, which is like it's gonna do its action and its horror and like Metroid Prime is like it's okay, but it does have its problems. I'm gonna get like crucified for saying that. Well, maybe not anymore. I think the opinion on Metroid Prime has kind of dropped a little bit over recent years. And then Metroid Prime 2 takes Metroid Prime and it's like, I'm gonna fuck with that. I'm just gonna do Zelda dungeons in a Metroid game, and it slaps so hard, man. But yeah, I guess that's my opinion on Fusion. It's good. It's really good. It's not as good as Super, but it's not my favorite. And I mean, I'd put it over Metroid 2 just because Metroid 2 is like old and clunky and it's on a Game Boy. But if Metroid, like, would I put AM2R above Fusion? It's tough to say. It was my first Metroid game, which is hilarious. You know, Nintendo taking it down because they're like, oh, you don't want people. AM2R got me into Metroid. If it hadn't been for AM2R, and even if Nintendo hadn't taken it down, it hadn't like had that publicity, probably wouldn't have played them. So basically, fuck you, Nintendo. Die. Or well, maybe that's too harsh. No, it's not too harsh. You're a company. Go fuck yourself. Okay, what does your dream game play and look like? That is a very broad and big question, and I'll try and answer it. But okay, so like I have had game ideas. Like I like, you know, game design, and will I like? It is a potential like possible path for me to go into game design in the future. I'm not sure if I will. It depends on I guess it kind of depends on what these videos are like, how they do, if you watch them, that kind of shit. But like, ever since like finding out about like Metroid, I have been a big fan of like the Metroidvania genre. Kind of, like there's, like I don't think many games have done like Metroidvania better than Super Metroid, which came out in 1994. Like, for me personally, I guess, like stuff like Hollow Knight is definitely probably like a lot of people will enjoy it more, but to me, I don't know, I just can't quite get invested into it. I guess my dream game, because you don't see a lot of 3D Metroidvanias in the vein of Super Metroid, where you have different areas and you can kind of go through them, and it's not Metroid Prime where you're like walking around like a fucking tank and there is no platforming. Like the idea I've had for a while is like a 3D Metroidvania that's focused on platforming, and it's like designed in the style of Super Metroid. So there's only so it's all interconnected and it's not like separate things. That's kind of, I'm not gonna say that's my dream game. Like I don't know what my dream game looks like. I don't tend to like go into games expecting things to happen. I think that kind of colors your opinion on them. So I don't want games to be things. I want games to be what they want to be, and so I don't have a dream game. So really all I can say is like game ideas that I've had. But hopefully that answers the question okay. Okay, so these questions are not on like gaming opinions. These are more like channel things. So first we have, I would love to hear you talk about your gear that you use to shoot your videos. Talk about your staging process for how you compose your outdoor shots. And I would love to. So I guess I'll start with gear. This is probably gonna be a long section, so you know, fucking strap yourselves in. So I'll start with gear. I'll show you what I shoot with. Okay, so this is my camera here. This is a Fujifilm X-T3. It has a 33 f1.4 lens on it, and this is just a Rode Video Micro. I don't actually use this for audio, although I did use it in a couple of shots in the intro of this. I only recently got it, and then it's got the battery grip on it because these cameras fucking eat through batteries. So this is my camera. That's what I use to shoot on. And then for audio, I have, you've probably seen it in videos, I just have a lav mic, and that is connected to an external recorder. I can't really bring it up that high. There we go. This is the Zoom F1 field recorder. It's a really, really nice just recorder. It's got a belt clip. I can just clip it onto my pants. And it just sits there and records audio. Does it pretty well. So as for actually how I go about like locations and shot composition and stuff for these videos, there's like probably more work than you'd think, but also not quite as much as you might I don't know. I'm trying to say it's more but also less than you think, which is insane. That doesn't make any sense. But basically, originally what I was doing and what I like still do as well, but it depends on the video. I'm just trying to find locations that are interesting that I haven't been to before. Like here is actually, I've been here like a lot of times. I shot the upgraded weapons of the brought back weapons of Going Commando Nuya here. I shot the intro and outro of the Rift Apart review here, and there's something else. Yeah, I've shot another video here. There's a video I haven't released that sucks that I also shot here. So this is just like a regional park where I live. Well, not where I live. It's a bit out from where I live, but I mean the country where I live in. There's a lot of like natural scenery in New Zealand, and so it's just a fun thing where I can go and shoot videos and just interesting locations. I can go out and have a day and just shoot videos. And what I've been doing more recently is I've been trying to find places that fit with like the theme of what I'm talking about. So I don't always do this. It depends on because sometimes you just can't. Like for instance, the Weapon Mods video, the places for Going Commando, Up Your Arsenal and Gladiator, like they're all kind of related in some way to the games that I'm talking about. So the Going Commando one is in like an industrial area, sort of. It's like a mountain that's overlooking an industrial area. The Up Your Arsenal one is just a field that is kind of mostly dead grass, and I can grade to be more orange because Uyo is orange. And in Gladiator, I was trying to go for a similar kind of industrial thing, but also like more like working class kind of vibe. I don't know why, just kind of felt right to me. And then I just took all the green and I made it brown. Maybe I'll show like a side by side of like what the footage looks like and what it looks like once I've graded it. As for shot composition, I take a lot of cues from like a number of places. Like the reason that I do like talking head camera stuff as opposed to just being over gameplay, or at least not always being over gameplay and having shots where I'm talking to the camera, is kind of just to stand out, because like I could just be another like reviewer, either like just talking over gameplay or just like sitting in front of my computer and talking and then just talking over gameplay. And I wanted to do something interesting and something new, and like I'm not sure quite if it fits like properly, but yeah, so that's why I shoot out. Like I shoot me for one, and also outside for another. And I have a lot of camera gear. I have things to shoot with, kind of unrelated. I did a lot of film work in high school, so I find it interesting. I find it fun. It's fun to shoot stuff, in all senses of the word. As for like how like I compose different shots, I know I said I kind of went on a tangent. For like the intros and the outros, I'm kind of just winging it. I might like write up a shot list, depending on like if I have certain ideas of how I want things to flow together. But more often than not, I'm just kind of showing up at a place and like this looks good. Okay, I'll do like a wide, and then I'll do a close up, and then I'll do another wide, and then I'll do a close up, and I might do like a special if I want to. Specials is basically just inserts. I should probably say like stuff where it's like kind of close up or it's at a different angle. And like the way that I write, I break it's almost like paragraphs or sentences, and so I have like almost every sentence is a different shot, and that means I don't have to memorize like massive amounts of scripts to like get a shot done. There's a couple of shots in Breath of the Wild where there's maybe like 200 or 300 words that I have to remember, and you can tell because I'm kind of going through it really fast because it's difficult to remember that stuff and say it without getting it wrong. And for the gameplay stuff, I've kind of, like, it's taken me a while to kind of figure out how I was gonna, like, how I wanted to frame things. You can kind of tell it, like, changes over time. Like, in the upgraded, and in the brought back weapons video, I'm always on screen, and then in Rift Apart, I realized if I'm always on screen, I'm gonna need 50 minutes of footage of me talking, and that is impossible. So I just bring myself in for the interesting points, for the things I want to try and emphasize, and that's what I've been kind of doing since. So when I write, I have, like, I'll have a topic, I'll have like a thing I'm talking about, and then as I go through there'll be like certain points that like are like the focal point. I want to focus on those, and that's when I'll bring it back, and I'll bring myself in to try and like emphasize, this is the thing I want you to think about, I guess. And those are really simple. It's just finding a place to sit down that might have an interesting background, and then putting me like all the way out here so that you can fit mostly uncropped gameplay. That's also the reason that my videos are in 2:1 ratio and not 16:9. Most games are in 16:9 or 4:3 because I am dealing with Ratchet Clank. But yeah, most games are in 16:9, so if you actually like look at my videos, there's either there will be black bars, or I'll have like blurred out, like zoomed in of the gameplay on the side. And the reason I shoot in 2:1, I guess 18:9 if you want to be pedantic, is that it gives me more like horizontal space to like work with, so I don't have to crop in the gameplay quite as much. And it also just looks better for stuff where there is no gameplay there, where I'm just talking. I'm doing this basically. So yeah, that's pretty much my my process, roughly. It's kind of just like a long-winded tangent. I should have scripted this, but I'm trying to not put in a lot of effort. So here, let me put this back. Hopefully this will be in focus. I'm not actually sure. I didn't check. I probably should, but yeah. That's a thing. Manual focusing when you're just one person is really annoying, and it's the reason my camera never moves and why I'd never do anything like a rack focus. There's a couple of shots in Rift Apart where I'm like far away and I have to walk, and I have to stop the camera down to about f16 just so the plane of focus is long enough that I'm not completely out of focus on either end. Yeah, anything else that I have to add to that is basically just, you want to like my influences, where these ideas came from. Like, none of like my visual influences are from like games. Like there's a little bit of Tom Scott in there with the kind of talking head shit that he does. Like there's a lot of Dan Olsen or Folding Ideas. The way he kind of cuts back to himself when he wants to make important points, that's something he has talked about, and I did kind of just steal that. I mean, it's a good idea. The whole kind of point being that it's easier for you to lip read, essentially. If you have something that you can look at and read, it's easier than just hearing audio. It's not like difficult to listen to audio, but it makes it like there's an extra level of processing you can do. Right, so would you ever do content on Jak and Daxter or the Sly Cooper series in the future? And that's going to be a hard maybe. And the reason for that is, like, if I admit I haven't played either series. I don't know, I should, especially Sly Cooper, because that is, like, from what I've heard, it's like of the PS2, it is definitely the tightest. I think I'm probably more likely to do content on Jak and Daxter, more because stuff about that doesn't, like, it's not quite as... Actually, no, I don't think Sly Cooper has like a lot of videos around it, but there is. I'll link it below, but there's a 3-part retrospective made by B-Mask, I mentioned him before. He makes great videos. And it is some of the best like content I have like ever seen in my life. It is like incredible, and I don't think I can make anything that like about Sly Cooper that even comes close to hitting like that series. So like, I don't know if I will. Maybe I could do something smaller, I don't know, but those, like, I don't think any more content about Sly Cooper needs to exist because those videos are there and they're, like, oh, they're so good. I mean, obviously there are problems. There's, like, weird, like, kind of structural things that I would probably do differently. I mean, I wouldn't do them differently. I would do it worse, but, you know, hindsight's 20/20 and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm probably more likely to do stuff on Jak and Daxter because it hasn't quite been taken by, like, there's more room to kind of work in. But again, I'd have to actually play those games because I haven't. So that's a hard maybe. Okay, and I know we've got one more that I didn't put on here. It is on my phone because it's, let's see, actually it might be, oh yes, here we go. From Sarah, who do you like better, me or Dan? Now for the uninitiated, that's my sister, and Dan, that's my brother. He's also known as Army of One. He's lent me some equipment to use in videos before, if you've like seen in the end credits. It's really nice. So what was the actual, so who do you like better? And that's an easy question, Sarah. You are both equally my least favorite. It's a shit joke. Garbage. Absolutely fucking atrocious. Also, pro tip, don't shoot outside because you have to deal with that shit. Guys, there's like, this is where I'm sitting. I don't know if I can like focus, but like where I'm sitting, like I'm just sitting right there. That's like the marker of like where I'm going. There's just a duck. There's just a duck sleeping here. It's just, I guess it's not sleeping anymore, but like what the fuck, man? That's pretty dope. How you doing, buddy?